Riverside.
Woo! What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is me, GQ.
And it is I, the Boulevard.
And we are the one, the only true Eagles podcast. Live from the bench.
Live from the bench.
And before we get into the amazing stories and topics, I need a favor from you all who are viewing. Please take a second and make sure you're subscribing so we can get into some awesome topics. Right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to discuss the NFC East, or should I say, NFC Beast.
Ooh.
Or if you're a hater, maybe the NFC East. Boulevard's got questions. I might have questions. Boulevard might have some answers. I might have some answers. Who knows? Let's get into it.
In the words of Roddy Piper, every time you ask the questions, I change the answers. Now, what was I saying? We're going to start with Dallas. Just come out the gate with the funniest one of all.
The last Cowboy.
Yeah. I'm going to deck his ass and say now senile Jerry. Or geriatric Jerry, whatever you want to call him. That's okay by me. Offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, Tyler Guyton. He's probably okay. Marshawn Kneeland, an edge out of Western Michigan. Cooper Beebe, guard Kansas State. Marist Leafall, I don't know. Linebacker out of Notre Dame. Keener Carson, corner. Ryan Flournoy, wide receiver. Nathan Thomas, tackle. And Justin Roberts, D tackle. Not the pretty, just like doesn't have any brand names or anything flashy on it at all. Is this a bad draft, or is it just like another solid Cowboys draft like the last couple years and we just don't know? Or third theory, did Jerry Jones stare into the eclipse too long?
I think part of that is definitely the last one that you said there. He was staring at the eclipse too long.
Oh, goddamn. You can say a ring round. We just made him out.
I also think that we are running into an unfortunate case of Cowboys got a little sloppy. Because I feel like one of the things that they relied way too much on was like their ability to draft. And then now they're at a point where those good, because you get to that point where you draft really good, and then those good players end up needing contracts because they are good. They do draft good in the past. Now they don't have much money to draft those good players, and then those good players,
free agents.
Yeah, and they don't have money to draft those good. They don't have money to keep those good players. Now they got to go and replace those good players. And there wasn't much in the pool as far as the positions that they needed to fill. So I feel like Dallas, they probably were drafting for need and not drafting the best. And I feel like they didn't have, in the positions that they needed help in, they did not do a good job at filling the need. So, ass.
Yeah. I mean, you love to see it, but yeah, it was does not appear to be a good draft for the Cowboys. Hopefully they can make something out of nothing here. I mean, they might find a few starters down the road, but it doesn't look like anything it's not a typical Cowboys draft from what it appears to me.
No, not by a long shot.
Focus on the line. That's typical, but yeah, no, I'm not impressed. I'm kind of disappointed. I expected more out of them this year. I'm Jared. Yeah, I like this kid. He's from Oklahoma.
because one of the things that I've noticed is like when they were drafting, there was a lot of the top, like the best available guy was there, and Cowboys didn't take him. So that led me to believe that for the first time in a long time, they were drafting for need and not going after the best player available. Because when they drafted Micah Parsons, they drafted best available. They didn't draft somebody they needed. So yeah, that's what I think happened.
All right. That's
$250.
unusual for the Cowboys, but maybe they know what they're doing in that department. They drafted well the past few years. No reason not to give them some credibility, some benefit of the doubt. Hurts to say, it doesn't look like much of anything, though.
Let's hope they got money to sign their draft picks.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because they might not.
Wouldn't that be shit?
Can you imagine drafting some guys and can't sign them to contracts?
I can't imagine how you'd fuck up that bad. Even Jerry, with his tendencies to throw money everywhere. No, I can't imagine you fuck up that bad.
I'll give you
I like money.
I give you some of my money out my pocket if you stay here for a year.
Let me buy you oil, Derek. You like oil, don't you? Everybody like oil. Oil is black with gold.
I'll pay your mortgage. I'll pay your mortgage for the next 6 years if you stay here.
I wouldn't take that deal. Dallas sucks. All right. Now we're going to the Giants. If you got nothing else Cowboys related.
Oh, I do got one more Cowboys thing.
Okay.
Dallas sucks.
Okay. Huh. Okay. I don't disagree with that. That is actually factual, 110% truth. That's what the test said. Now, in New York, you know that one from the CDC or whatever it is that says you are or are not the baby's father. Yeah, that test. Malik Neighbors, Tyler Nubin, safety Minnesota, Andrew Phillips, cornerback Kentucky, Theo Johnson, out of Penn State, tight end Tyrone Tracy Jr., running back out of Purdue, and Darius Muasau, a linebacker out of UCLA. My question, which should have been more about Tyler Nubin or Theo Johnson, but does Malik Neighbors save Brian Daboll's job?
No, not at all. And it's sad to say that they're probably going to get. They're just going to be bad. They're not going to be any better than they've been. Yeah. Like, they didn't draft in a position that they should have drafted. They should have drafted a quarterback. Like, who was it that kept saying it was GI16 kept saying Tommy DeVito.
Who?
Tommy DeVito is garbage too. Like, they're all garbage. That quarterback room is garbage. So
yes,
it doesn't matter if you drafted Malik Neighbors because you still got all those receivers, and you just put him in a receiving core that won't help him be successful.
So you think they should have grabbed Penix Jr., McCarthy, or Bowers or Nix? Not Bowers. Bowers. Nix.
Let's just. I'm looking. Even if they didn't have it, there was Joe Milton. There was. Listen, I'm not drafting anything else. I'm drafting somebody that's gonna kick Danny Dimes in his fucking ass. Joe Milton was there. Do you understand that the Patriots drafted 2 quarterbacks? Joe Milton was there. Spencer Rattler was there. Like, even if you couldn't get those, you wanted to draft Malik Neighbors, you give him a quarterback. Because I'm 100% sure Malik Neighbors got drafted. In his mind, he was like,
he can have a quarterback next year. You just got, that ain't the only position that team had to fill. You got to take the best players that are there. You can't go reaching for a quarterback. You're going to drop back, but then you wouldn't have a wide receiver. They didn't have shit at wide receiver either. It's not like they had any real options outside of Barkley, and he's gone, so it's a fresh restart. Take the best offensive player you can get at that point.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem, though. See, when Justin Jefferson came in, he didn't have to be wide receiver 1.
Right.
Because they had Thielen. Thielen was still a problem. You can't just double. You can't just double. You didn't know what Justin Jefferson was. You could have doubled Thielen and put Justin Jefferson on another, like a solid corner on Justin Jefferson. You didn't know what he was. Now, Malik Neighbors, like the Vikings had Kirk Cousins. He's a fairly solid quarterback. I hate to admit that, but he was solid enough.
Right.
You don't have that luxury in New York, and then you don't have another receiver on the side where Malik Neighbors, because Malik Neighbors comes in automatically wide receiver 1, unless New York has done something that I haven't seen. I didn't see them. I don't know if they picked up.
He's coming in as wide receiver 1, definitely.
So that means that
he's got to learn to play the position at the pro level. He's a wide receiver in New York City right now.
And that means to me, in my eyes, I look at that. I look at that and I say that's basically the same as throwing them to the wolves. Look, Malik Neighbors, you got to do it.
He ain't got no quarterback this year, but it's it's not about this year. It's about 4 years from now, 8 years from now. But he'll have a quarterback then, unless the guys are really committed to just ruining this man's career. Then they're only going to have Danny Dimes at most. Probably cut him after this season and maybe pick up a quarterback. But Neighbors was there. The other options were not as good as what Neighbors can be. So, I don't feel like they made the wrong choice. I don't feel like there was a wrong choice to be made.
I don't think it was the wrong choice to draft Neighbors. I don't think at number 1, I don't think at their pick in the first round, I don't think drafting Neighbors was a bad idea. I think the bad idea was down the road not picking up a quarterback that you can at least develop with Neighbors.
Yeah, they don't have a 1.
Not
a 1. They don't have 1 developing quarterback now.
Yeah, right. So, like, when you got guys like Joe Milton, Spencer Rattler, Florida State guy, I can't remember his name. When you got like guys like that, you take a shot and you get one of those guys because Danny Dimes has already proven that. Nope, not no. Tommy DeVito, nope, not no.
No.
You got to do something. You got to
say they're better off Tommy DeVito than Danny Dimes. But that's just my opinion.
I mean, I would be like, listen, we got to go all in with, because at this point we know Danny Dimes is not the guy.
Right, it's like, just go ahead, eat that cap space, drop him, and just ride with DeVito.
And let DeVito develop. At least he can develop. You can't develop Danny Dimes anymore because he's too late.
He's not a starter, but fuck it. I mean,
right.
You don't have a quarterback. So
that's what I'm saying. It's time to start developing people. Your team is garbage. Garbage. Yeah. Let Danny Dimes ride out and just develop what you had. It's time to just develop. You're rebuilding. You're not going to the playoffs.
You're even trying to get one of them QBs from Tennessee. Between Levis and the other dude, you got 2 quarterbacks sitting right there.
I would go after one of them. Or I would go after Sam Howell, who's sitting in Seattle. He's not going to see the field anytime. Right. He's going to sit behind both Drew Lock and Geno Smith. He's going to sit behind them both.
Snoop Huntley's out there. I mean, you can definitely play the trademark. You might not necessarily improve at quarterback, but you can't get worse at quarterback. But you got to have somebody out there.
I think if they wouldn't got Huntley, that's an improvement from Danny Dimes.
Yes.
Get Sam Howell. Improvement. Fucking Sam Darnold is an improvement over Danny Dimes.
Yes, he is.
Fucking Trey Lance is an improvement over Danny Dimes.
I don't know what Trey Lance is. But I mean, considering the pedigree, I'd rather have Trey Lance. If somebody saw enough of him to go with like, oh, 3rd pick, I'm taking him. He's got that kind of potential. Danny Dimes was drafted by an idiot. So
the Steelers got Justin Fields for a 6th rounder.
Yeah.
Listen, if I know that 6th round would have been enough, I would have been like, here. Here's 2. If I knew the Steelers were offering a 5th round, I'd be like, here's a 5th There you
And
go.
here's a 6. Have another 6. Why not?
Yeah,
6 round picks for everybody. Damn.
Because
you're giving me starting caliber quarterbacks.
Because I'm one person, I'm going to say the jury is not out on fucking Justin Fields.
It's not. It's really not.
Fields is a great quarterback. I think he's got potential to be a great quarterback. And I feel like if Russell Wilson fucks up, this is Justin Fields' game.
It's Justin Fields' game because, Russ, he's going to lose the locker room because nobody likes Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Especially you going to Pittsburgh. Yeah, no, he's not going to be the quarterback by the end of the season. It's going to be Fields.
I agree.
Fields is more their flavor in Pittsburgh than what Russell Wilson and his $5 Subway commercials are doing.
Like I dislike the Cowboys, but the way the Giants have been operating their team for the past 10 years pisses me off. Because, and I'm going to say this, the disrespect that Tyrod Taylor has been experiencing.
Oh my God.
The shit out of me.
Oh my God. Could do a whole episode on just the way the league treats Tyrod Taylor.
Like, we don't know if this man could have possibly been a good quarterback. You know what? I'm going to say this. Tyrod Taylor's been disrespected. What's the name? What's that quarterback name? Josh Dobbs. That motherfucker was available. New York. You mean to tell me that the shit that Danny Dimes did last year or Tommy DeVito did last year was better than what the fuck Josh Dobbs did in both Minnesota and Cleveland or Arizona? The man was solid. The man was for me in fantasy. Do you know what this man did for me in fantasy?
I actually do, yes.
This man started at least 12 games for me in fantasy. Josh fucking Dobbs. Jesus Christ. So he was out there. You trust Danny Dimes? It's out there. That means to me, in my mind, I look at the New York Giants, and my assessment of the Giants is that they wanted to lose, 100% committed to losing, and the future of the Giants is losing. They don't want to compete with Philadelphia. They don't want to compete with Dallas. They want to be behind the Washington Commanders, the team that has an identity but don't have an identity. The team that doesn't figure out if they're Commanders or Indians. They don't know what they want. That team. And guess what? That team said, we want to compete, and we want to compete now. New York said, we don't care. We're just here. We want to be Dallas's bitch. Because that's the only team that's not going to compete this year. The Giants aren't going to compete. Yeah, the Eagles lost, but the Giants lost to an Eagles team that didn't even want to compete themselves. A team that was beating themselves. That's the crowning achievement for the Giants last year. Was they beat the Eagles, a team that was so badly hurting internally. Like they fucking themselves up. You beat a team that was beating themselves. You basically jumped the team. You basically jumped your opponent while they're beating themselves up. It's like you saw them punching themselves and kicking themselves, and you decided you're going to get your licks in. That's what the Giants did to the Eagles. That don't make them good. That just means they took an opportunity to get some free hits in. That's them. You're not a good fucking team. And you did nothing whatsoever to better your team. I'm sorry. I like Neighbors. I like him. I think he was a good pick for them. But go out there and do something to make that man feel like, hey, I'm a value to this team. Get me somebody that can get me the ball. Because I can promise, I got a feeling the dude's only going to get 50 to 60 catches when he's probably an 80 to 90 reception guy. He's going to lose on receptions because the quarterback's not going to get the ball to him because he's dog shit and he's going to throw more interceptions than touchdowns.
So how many targets do you think Neighbors getting? You think he's only getting
Neighbors? Honestly, I don't know. It could be. I don't know. I feel like a lot more passes are going to get intercepted than they need to because the quarterback doesn't know how to throw the ball. And like they called this man Danny Dimes, and I've seen, where is the dime? That's like Danny Dimes.
I think that's what they mean. Danny dropping dimes because he's telling the other team where he's throwing the ball.
Right, because it's like Danny Dimes, where?
Just staring down receivers.
Where's the accuracy? Where is the passes? Where is it? Because I don't see it. I think we need to move on to another team because The pure fallacy of the New York Giants is bugging the shit out of me. I can't stand that organization. Fucking
Malik
Lord.
Neighbors.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker!
I didn't know we had that. I like it.
All right. Next team is Washington. We're up to the Commanders / Redskins / Red Hawks, whatever. Okay, I'll run down their list. Number 1, second pick in the draft, Jaden Daniels. Second round pick, John Newton, D tackle. Mike St. Russell, nickel cornerback extraordinaire. Ben Sinnott, tight end. Brandon Coleman, guard, TCU. Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver from Rice. Jordan McGee, Temple U, linebacker. Dominique Hampton, safety out of Washington. And Javonte Jean-Baptiste, age from Notre Dame. Shut up. No. God damn it.
I like
All right.
the Commanders.
So come on, yeah. Oh, stop.
Did you mess up?
TV. All right. Oh, it was just stupid sound bites over here, sound clips.
Oh, I like.
All right.
I like. Well, wait. Okay.
Wait, my question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is Washington back? Will Jaden Daniels bring the Hogs and the Pogs back to DC?
Yes. And as much as I hate to say it, I actually think that Jaden Daniels, with the addition of Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz, and they haven't had a tight end in a very long time, a solid tight end in a very long time. With the addition of Austin Eckler and in tandem with, well, not even in tandem, but with that group, Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez, and Austin Eckler, you got a 3-headed monster. Running back, those are solid running backs. Then you got a guy that, because their running back was a guy who was shot and still came in and put up 800 yards on the ground.
Damn sure was.
That's something. And then you got freaking Scary Terry McLaurin. You got Scary Terry. You got Jahan Dotson. Jaden Daniels can throw the deep ball. You got Zach Ertz, short-handed tight end. May not be as fast as he is, but he's still going to be a weapon. You can't count him out. And they developed their O-line a little bit. They brought in Dorrance. Listen, they lost Chase and Montez, but they brought in Dorrance. I feel like we're looking at a different team, a much better team. I'm excited to see what they can do. They brought in a guy like Jeremy Chin at safety. Listen, some people might look at these picks and like, oh, you got a lot of older guys. When they brought in Bobby Wagner, he's a decision maker. And I like this is
you need a leader in the middle of that defense. You can't do worse. You can definitely do a lot worse than Bobby Wagner in the middle of your defense, even at his extended.
I like this team. I really do. And like you look at teams that are like improving their team, trying to make their teams better, and then you look at what Dallas and New York did. It's like you didn't do anything to make your team better. You just 100% assume that you still try to make do with what you have. Giants, I don't know what their thoughts were. Commanders, you look at them and they're like, you got a new GM, new owner, and they're 100% committed to reshaping their organization. They're trying to give themselves an identity. I mean, the only mistake I've seen so far, I only seen 2 mistakes so far. And those mistakes were hiring Dan Quinn as head coach. And what's the other one? Naming the team the Commanders.
That's not his fault.
That's the owner's fault.
Can't blame the coach for that one.
I blame the owner. Yeah, that's the only and fixing the team. That's the only 2 mistakes I've seen. because I felt as though if you're gonna bring in Cliff Kingsbury, might as well just make him your head coach. Make him your head coach.
No, he
But I
needs
don't
to
see.
run the offense. He don't need no responsibilities. He don't need nothing to do with the defense. Just let him deal with the quarterback, develop both. That's it. I don't want him. I wouldn't want him head coaching my team.
I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Dan Quinn as a head coach because
Right.
I mean he completely wasted whatever the Atlanta Falcons were. He wasted, and I'm not a fan of him. But yeah, I feel like they did a lot to improve their team. I don't think that Dan Quinn's a better coach than Ron Rivera by a long shot. But again, it was time for Ron Rivera to go see new pastures. It was time for greener pastures for him. I feel like there's better head coach candidates out there for Washington, but looking at what they're doing, I'm not mad at them.
They picked up 5 starters, 5 immediate starters in this draft. Yeah. Daniels, Newton, Saint Russell, Sinnott, and Coleman are all going to start next season. Just straight out the game. They're all starters.
They 100%.
So that's itself hell of a draft. You got 5 starters out of this draft. Maybe McGee. Maybe McGee. I'm rooting for McGee personally. I love to see a kid from Temple shine because they don't get enough love in the NFL.
Hey, you.
All right, who is my next? Okay, I guess we're out of the NFC.
We're out of the NFC Beast. We're leaving the NFC
now
Beast.
We're going to Chicago where the first pick and the 9th pick in the draft were. I got some questions.
Okay.
First off, is Caleb Williams going to be the first 4,000-yard quarterback in Chicago?
Yes. Yes, he will be. Because they have no choice at this point to 100% commit to him, and he's not going to be benched this year. They're not going to bench him for somebody else. He's immediately coming in and starting. Yes, especially with the season's length being longer than it was in the past.
Good point.
I remember Jay Cutler was close to it, but he didn't have the extra game. So I think, yes, Caleb Williams will be their first 4,000-yard because he's capable of doing it. He's got the arm. And now something that the team never had before is a solid receiving core. 100%. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Caleb Williams will be the first the 4,000-yard passer. And I don't even know this, but maybe the first 40 touchdown passer. I don't know.
Ooh, maybe.
I don't know it. I feel like because of the way this game is being played, 40 touchdowns is not a lot anymore.
I know,
it's like
that's
everybody's
crazy.
supposed to it every year.
Is Williams to Adunze a championship combination?
I mean, sure. I mean, I can't really say them two alone. Is it that alone? Because I feel like Williams to Allen could be a championship conversation. Not a Super Bowl. They're not going to the Super Bowl.
No, I was thinking more like NFC North champions.
Yeah, in that case, sure. Because
Eberflus. I'm not no conference championship, none of that shit. No, they're not that team.
Yeah, because Eberflus. That's why I'll never admit that.
All right. Will Caleb Williams make painted nails a thing in Chicago? Moment among Chicago.
It's already a thing. It's already a thing. People do it already. It's just one of those things where he's probably the only one that's like making it public and known that he's doing it.
Yeah. So that one won't become more common at Bears games. Have dudes in blue and orange fingernails. Say bear down in them.
Say that again.
Something about blue and orange nails with the words "bear down" in them, like that picture I saw of Caleb Williams a couple days ago.
Well, he had wait, no, that wasn't him. That wasn't him. I thought he had nails. They were like orange and blue with the bear. Designed in.
No, I saw someone, but it just said "bear down."
Oh, okay. They didn't.
Okay. I don't know what else we got on Caleb. You got anything on Caleb?
No.
All right, let's go to Arizona. First question and the second question will both be about Marvin. Will Kyler and Marvin Jr. equal the numbers that Peyton and Marvin hit?
I think Kyler Murray is at his peak. I think Marvin Harrison's going to be enough to make him look good, make Kyler look good. I'm not. I think they have a young and developing receiving core, so maybe that could be a thing for them. I don't know. Marvin's going to get. I wouldn't. I feel bad for Marv too, because I don't think I'm just not that like Kyler Murray. I have a bad taste in my mouth after what happened with the whole gaming being a priority over football.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I see that and I see that your quarterback of all people is not focused on the game, that's like a problem for me. So
right. That is a problem. I mean, it's your quarterback.
Because I feel like if the quarterback's not focused, he's not going to have the right mentality or may not make the right throws to get the ball to Marvin.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope so because it's Marvin. I don't know. It's just like I don't feel like he's going to get the ball to Marvin the way he should, or he's going to make the right throws because he may have the talent still, but like where's his head at? You know, it's like I'm wondering where's the head at, and I feel like that's going to like lead to other problems with the organization.
Could see that. All right. Next question: is he better than his senior? Thinks so. Junior probably thinks so. Do you think so, GQ?
Do I think
Marv Jr. is better than Marv Sr.?
Yes. And the only reason why I say so, because 9 out of 10, Marvin's Sr.'s probably been coaching his son. And one thing I've always known is like, you're going to know what you did wrong and how you could improve. And when it comes to you developing the next generation, you're going to coach the better. You're going to coach the better tactics, the better skills. You're going to coach to develop those skills so where they're not a problem in the future. They're not a problem anymore for the next generation. So you're going to coach those up. And I feel like because Junior is like a bigger guy, he's probably faster. I don't know. He could be faster. He has size. That's something different that Marvin is probably coached up. Like that's probably somebody who I feel like, you know, when they say good players don't make good coaches, I feel like when it comes to that, Marvin may have a talent because like when you discussed a few days ago that Marvin Harrison Sr. wasn't that good a college player. He had to develop himself in the pros. So that may be he can probably use that same coachability that he used to coach himself, to coach his son, and maybe coach other receivers. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart.
Right.
So maybe if Senior thinks his son is better than him, I have no reason to doubt it.
Facts. All right. Next team up. I'm sure they've been waiting for it out there. It's the Falcons. We know what they did. They had just signed Kirk Cousins. And then
I'll always like to tell myself I'm not going to yell more than once in an episode.
Why? Double down.
I'm going to have to because I'm about to.
Michael Penix who's an old man with bad knees and bad ACLs and bad shoulders. He's had 4 seasons into these injuries: ACL, shoulder, ACL, shoulder. So, dude's barely hanging on by a thread physically. You draft him at 8 to a team that already has a quarterback locked in for 4 years and a lot of money that needs help at many other positions, especially defensively. But you double down and draft another quarterback. The fuck? Who's fired first? Raheem Morris or Terry Fontenot?
100% Terry Fontenot, because I don't think Raheem Morris had anything to do with that. I don't think he had anything to do with that. And here's my thought. If you needed a quarterback that fucking bag that you were going to sit behind Cousins because maybe you want to develop him, why the fuck did you trade Desmond Ridder? He could do the same thing. And he found some success there. They just had a shit coach.
You had a shit coach, yeah.
So why the hell would you let him go? Don't trade somebody that you're going to need just to go and fucking draft somebody when you just signed somebody. This fucking batshit insane general manager performances is out of completely. I don't even understand. Like, I don't see any reason, or like, there's no justifying it. It's stupid because you got a guy who's been in this organization for 2 years, developed those 2 years, had a connection with some of the receivers there. So that means not only is he going to be able to tell your quarterback that you just picked up, like, all right, so listen, Drake likes passes like this. So-and-so likes passes like this. I think the best way to use Kyle is like this. Boom. Now you got 2 guys that you spent money on, or you spent a high pick and you wasted a high pick on, that don't know shit about any of the players that you got on your team. They have no fucking rhythm, no connection, no chemistry. And guess what? They're both going to have to try and come in there and try to develop that chemistry. And they're going to fuck it up. You made your team even worse because there's no chemistry. You just spent a whole lot of money on a quarterback that's probably going to retire in a year. And then you just drafted a quarterback that's probably going to get hurt within a year. And now you're probably going to be who you got your third. Ken Benkart or whatever his name is. I don't know if that's the third string, but that's basically where my head goes. It's fucking Ken Benkart or whoever.
Well, they say you got 2 quarterbacks, you got no quarterbacks. So they headed for a controversy the moment Cousins has a bad game. And that could be the preseason. It could be any point. But it's going to be a controversy when the season's over. They're going to be arguing over who's going to be the starter because they invested in another quarterback instead of, keeping the one you said, or drafting a defender.
100%. Dallas Turner was sitting there. You should have got him.
What a concept. Everybody was sitting there. No defenders had been touched yet.
They could have had
anybody. They had free pickings. I mean, for that matter, you only lost 2 tackles of like 5 or 6 that went in the first round. You could have built your line. You could have done anything else. But they picked a quarterback to be the backup in the first round. You drafted a backup quarterback with bad ACLs and bad shoulders. Somebody got to get fired.
Absolutely.
Like, somebody should have already been fired because they already done showed they ain't got the mental capabilities to handle the job. They just going to go off on a whim and make dumbass irrational decisions, like drafting a quarterback to put a hat on a hat. That's stupid. Have fun in the unemployment line next season, Terry Fontenot. I hope Raheem Morris doesn't have to take the brunt for it because, coaches always go before GMs. So, next up, Minnesota. Traded up for J.J. McCarthy. Some people, this guy, it's called the Tim Tebow of this draft. Is it always wise? Is it wise to trade up for a quarterback?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Because I feel like J.J. McCarthy would have still been there.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're reaching for the third or fourth quarterback drafted at this point. Like, you're jumping to get the 4th quarterback off the board, and the 5th quarterback went 2 picks later. It's like, This is irrational. You know these players aren't good enough to be drafted in these positions, but you put them there because they're quarterbacks. But now you have to pay them more. You have to invest more into them, but you're still not going to get anything out of it. You could have just waited. You could have went down. You could have picked someone else that would help you and then hope for somebody with actual skill next year, or that wasn't old next year, or whatever. Had bad injury, had bad ankles, bad shoulders. You could have done something differently. You could have used sense. You know that player has flaws. You want the closest thing to a sure thing with your first pick, especially if it's a top 10 pick. You don't want to blow that pick jumping to grab a quarterback that wasn't even that high a pick until a couple months, like a month ago, 2 months ago. Y'all started pushing him up the fucking board near the end of the season. No. This dude wasn't good enough on the field. He won the championship. Yeah, because he had a fucking hell of a coach. He's not the reason they won the championship. He did not show the skills, the requisite skills to be a professional quarterback. He showed some, but he does not have the arm. So he's not a 10th pick. He's not going to be that accurate at the pro level because he's not going to get into those windows, especially with this offense.
And here's something that I heard a lot, and it made me think. One thing I've heard is that J.J. McCarthy didn't throw the ball a lot. He didn't throw the ball because Michigan they like to run the ball. They ran the ball a lot, so J.J. McCarthy wasn't, So that right there, he basically is up there because he's a championship winning quarterback. Mm-hmm. So is Trent Dilfer.
He's a leader.
So
leadership should not get you drafted 10th in the fucking draft.
Exactly. And let me ask this:
skill. Yeah.
If he's a top quarterback, if he's the number one pick at quarterback, tell me how many Michigan receivers got drafted? How many Michigan tight ends got drafted?
Right.
I didn't see any. So that means none of your receivers performed well enough to be drafted?
Right.
Unless they're all underclassmen. None of them were good enough? None of them are good enough? I want to know what was J.J. McCarthy's stats last year? Let's go ahead and look.
Go for it. I'm grabbing a water.
Give me a second. I'm still looking.
All right. You're still looking. I guess I'll put some. Oh,
what was his stats? Let's see. Tend to over, like their stats is like a lot. So he threw 338 passes, completed 240, 70%. 2,991. 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's not exciting to me.
No.
Nothing about him jumps off the board. I'm not willing to make.
So I'm saying bad teams make bad decisions consistently. I mean, you look through the last few years. Minnesota's isn't really putting out a good roster year after year. And the only thing they were was keeping him hanging on was Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gone now. Yep. So y'all left what might be the best receiver in the league. Like, he's stuck. He's basically in the same position fucking Devontae Adams is in. Where he's got all the talent, but nobody to get him in the damn ball.
And something that's probably going to have to see is a lot of McCarthy trying to force the ball or jam the ball down Justin Jefferson's throat. He's going to get upset.
Maybe one of them bad franchises that don't do it intelligently.
Yeah,
they don't think long term. They don't think rationally. And make bad decisions.
Yeah, and one of my thoughts is like they don't have a running back.
Right.
That's one of their biggest issues is they didn't have a running game last year, and that's kind of what makes McCarthy. So if he doesn't have that running game, how does he manage when he has to throw the ball? Is he the kind of quarterback that can 100% win with his arm? Can he do that?
No,
Because he
would have had to, or they would have let him. We would have seen it. Is the point. We would have seen that he had the ability by now.
Because if he doesn't, right? If he doesn't, this is going to make me sparking a new question. If he doesn't do well in the Kevin McConnell offense, forcing him having to throw the ball, and it's about to get interesting. And Herbert doesn't do well, and Harbaugh's run heavy offense.
Ooh.
Do you swap?
Couldn't hurt.
A Herbert to Minnesota for JJ to LA Chargers. Would you make
when
that?
You say JJ, you mean McCarthy, not Jefferson.
Not Jefferson.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Without hesitation. If I'm Harbaugh, I don't know. If I'm Minnesota, absolutely.
So if you're Harbaugh, right, and Justin Herbert's not performing well in your system, you don't think to go after the guy that has worked in your system?
He's a downgrade.
Oh,
just talent-wise, a downgrade. That's why I wouldn't, but he would be able to possibly be able to run the system better than Herbert would.
So you wouldn't do like
understanding of it.
So you wouldn't pull a Steve Spurrier when you got you wouldn't pull a Steve Spurrier and go after everybody you coached in college.
Like trying to be too cute like that, but trying to be cute about it, thinking you're outsmarting people, you're not going to succeed. Like you're never going to.
People remember that year because that was when the now Commanders went out. They had Steve Spurrier as head coach, and he just went.
Yeah, we remember that disaster where he had all his old quarterbacks, and they all knew how to use the system, but he didn't know how to execute in the fucking pros. So
that was when
the system didn't fit.
I remember they had Santana Moss. No, was it Santana Moss? Santana Moss. No, they traded Santana. They had Lavernus Coles at receiver. They traded him.
Lavernus Coles.
And then Chad Morton at running back. Chad Morton was a glorified kick returner, and I'm pretty sure it was a cornerback, and they made him a running back. I don't know what that man was, but he was a kick returner, and he became the starting running back. That was hilarious.
That's ridiculous. I try to put things like that out of my head.
No, I remember that. That because when that happened, I think I was coming into my own as a football fan. I was coming into my own as a football fan. Like that's when I first started really focusing on the game. So when I saw that happen, it was hilarious to see that because I was like, oh, they're really bad. Because I think that was around Steve Spurrier. Then they got Joe Gibbs. It was so bad.
Yeah.
It was really bad that year.
Joe Gibbs was still running the offense from the 80s. All like 81 years old and shit. Next up,
what else?
Vegas. They drafted a tight end after drafting a tight end in the first round last year. Why? That's the question. Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it improves the team. This is a team that probably should have drafted a quarterback.
I can't even imagine who made the decision to draft a tight end. Like you can't draft a tight end 2 years in or 2 first rounds in a row. Like you got to have more pressing matters than tight end at that point.
Yeah, like the most important position on your team, quarterback. 100%.
Quarterback, O-line, D-line, secondary.
Did they get anybody to replace Jacob James Jacob, or whatever his name is. I don't know.
I don't know.
Can't think of it. Yeah, I feel
Josh
like they.
Jacobs. Did they get a running back? Let me check.
I don't know.
Vegas. Las Vegas. Show
It's like
me the
I'm
two
all in
set.
to see
Brock Bowers,
Antonio.
Jackson Powers Johnson, DJ Glaze, DeCamerion Richardson, Tommy Eichenberg, Dylan Loeb, Trey Taylor, and MJ Devonshire. It would look like Dylan Loeb would be the running back that they selected, and that's the only one. So they did not.
So basically, they fucked up.
Yeah, well, it's the Raiders. You can't expect too much out of them. All you can expect is that they're going to fuck up somewhere. Because that's just what they do. Bad franchises do dumb shit consistently.
Well,
next. You got something?
Yeah. No.
All right.
No.
Okay. Next up, Kansas City, the champs. Is Worthy the next Tyreek?
No.
I agree.
Tyreek Hill's an anomaly.
Right.
Tyreek Hill
really
is an anomaly. And yeah, Tyreek Hill is an anomaly. He's an anomaly. So I feel like trying to replicate that, like they tried to do that with Hollywood Brown in Baltimore. He's not Tyreek Hill. You can try that with any of these other receivers, like Jamison Williams. He's quick, but he's not Tyreek Hill. You can't duplicate that. There's one Tyreek Hill. So
right.
I feel as though Xavier Worthy's going to be who he is, but he's not going to do what Tyreek Hill can do. He's not going to do that. He's not going to get you. I doubt he even gets 1,000 yards this year because he's not him.
Right.
I think Kansas City is like hurting right now with the receiver position because of what Rashee Rice did. So I think you're just trying to figure out at this point in there, they're just trying to do whatever they can to make it so Pat Mahomes is what he used to be. Give him that bazooka arm, just throw it, we'll go get it. I don't know.
That's what he needs.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We are over our time, but I'm going to try to flip this one in. First off, Spencer Rattler dropped because of TV1, a TV show he was on in his youth.
Yeah.
They didn't like his attitude there.
Yeah, they didn't like.
Is that fair?
I think it's nonsense because they didn't like his attitude as a teenager. They didn't like the teenager's attitude. That's aggravating. So, I think that's really an unfair assessment of him. I think it's bullshit, and I think when he comes in and proves himself, which he will, this year, Spencer Rattler will be. I think he is the quarterback of the future for the Saints. I think when Mr. Rattler comes in and shows that he's more mature, more developed, and more aware of what he did wrong then, and he's more than willing to improve. I think a lot of people are gonna have foot and mouth syndrome because of it.
That's the thing. Like he showed improvement. He showed a better mental state. He wasn't all up his own ass when he went to South Carolina. He came into Oklahoma with a giant ego. He was in high school with a giant ego, but he's not the first person to come into college and get humbled.
Right.
So if we know that if he can put in and get the mental state right, like his brain part of the game, he's going to be a solid quarterback. He's going to be at least in the top half of the league as far as quarterbacks. He'll be a top 15, top 16. So the challenge there, I think the Saints may have made a sneaky good pick. So I ain't like dude because he lost the locker room before in Oklahoma, I think it was, but I'm rooting for him. I mean, I don't want to see him fail, even if the Saints. It's a good story. You got anything else? Because I got one more story. All right. I'm going into the next story then. Oh, he gone. Damn. He already left. All right. Well, everybody who listening,
Spencer Rattler is a
Jake Paul
sneaky
versus
biscuit.
Mike Tyson is now. Yes, good contribution. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson is now a sanctioned fact, meaning it will be official and go on their records. So now they have legal gloves, typical gloves. It'll go by the rules you expect out of a boxing match, not some bullshit exhibition rules, not some 2-minute rounds or what have you. And you know the rules of boxing. So what do you think? You think this works better in whose favor, Tyson or Jake Paul? Logan Paul, Jake Paul?
It definitely works better for Jake Paul, and I feel like this is one of those when they say something is rigged, this right here, I feel like this is rigged. And I feel like there's anybody who doesn't care about their image to where they would lose, they will take a payoff to lose. It's Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson, everybody knows who Mike Tyson is. So he doesn't have to prove himself. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I
would have believed that when it was an exhibition that he might have took the fall, but I think Tyson has too much pride. And we know what he can do. So everybody, including him, should have the expectations. They just want to go in there and flatten that man.
But I feel like, yeah, you're right. I mean, if it comes to a point, like if this is going to go on Tyson's career record, then he's probably just going to come in there and knock Jake Paul's face off.
That's what he should do. I mean, Paul's definitely going to stay at a distance, not try to slug with him, because that would be foolish. He's not going to try to go toe-to-toe. He's going to be standing back, jabbing, trying to counter all that bullshit. And Tyson's just going to be I assume his haymaker, uppercut, power throwing self. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So who you got? And what round is Paul knocked out in?
First round, Tyson knocks him out.
Right? Oh, I'll give him a I was going to say second. That works. Yeah.
Because if Jake Paul's playing, unless Jake Paul's running like a bitch, Tyson knocks him out in the first round. If Jake, and that's right here, this is the thing. If Jake Paul runs like a bitch, he's gonna have that identity. He's gonna have that identity that I ran from Mike Tyson the whole fight. I didn't stand up with him.
That's his best strategy, though.
That's the strategy. Nah, bitch.
That's the only way he's staying upright is if he keeps his distance, because those haymakers are coming. Those hooks are coming. So
if you want to be recognized as one of the best boxers, because that doesn't make you the best boxer.
No.
That don't make you. That don't even make you challenge a guy like Mike Tyson to a fight. You better be willing and ready to go toe to toe with him, just like everybody else did. If you're not willing to
needs this win to be considered a real boxer, because nobody's giving him any credibility, because she's a sideshow. He's not a real fighter. He's been training for a good 6-7 years as a boxer. He refuses to actually box. So
right.
I don't know how many professional fights he's had, but this one's going to be an L. Like you're punching above your weight now. You're messing with the real ones. Like you're trying to fight top five dead or alive all time, and he gonna kick your ass. You fucked up, Jake. You fucked up. You got anything else?
I don't.
All right, let's take it home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I want to know what y'all thoughts are in the comments, of course, I'm always willing to hear it and listen. But I'll say this. You aren't the Atlanta Falcons. You don't play for the Atlanta Falcons. We know where you're going. You're going to the LFTB shop on Printify. Check the link in the description. Outside of that, we can't all be starters, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we have Boulevard. He'll let you know what you can do.
Hit the bench.